Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be trying to read the rest of my 24 books in 2024. So if you didn't see, from the beginning of the year I did put out a video of all the 24 books that I'd like to get read within 2024, and there were quite a few that I didn't complete and I just wasn't happy with that, so I decided to try and read the rest of them before the year ends. So let's just get on into the video, shall we? So last night I finally started the Atlas 6. I am actually quite glad that I'm finally getting to this. I don't know why, I just picked it up on a whim. So I'm not going to lie, the beginning of this book was okay. Like, obviously that's when I was giving it more of a chance. I was like, oh okay, the world is building. But then the further I got into it, the more bored I'm getting, and I'm only 132 pages into this, and I don't know what it is. Like, now we're at the point where things are starting to like begin kind of, and I'm really bored. I felt like the beginning was really slow. It just took a while to kind of get to the point. I don't know, I'm listening to the audiobook while diamond painting. Is that like I'm just reading it? I think if I was reading it, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have done after giving up already. So I'm listening to the audiobook and kind of doing something else. I'm still bored, but like I'm kind of getting through it. Like, I'm pushing through it. So quick summary for this. I'm not good at playing a fantasy series, so you have to bear with me. It is about 6 magicians, out of 6, and they have to enter like this trial thing. I'm not too sure, but basically only 5 of them will survive, and like they've all got like different magic. So some of them like have like physical magic, some of them have like mentality magic. Yeah, to be fair, that is kind of like the basis of it, I think. I don't know, I'm just so bored, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know if it's the audiobook but I'm kind of losing myself with the characters. Like, I just feel like, obviously it's the whole point that Atlas 6, but I just feel like I'm getting quite confused because you have the different points of views of all the characters, and I just feel like it's not clear. So it is written in the third person, but you have it so that, like, for example, if you are in Tristan's, I think his name is, if you're in Tristan's point of view, he will still say like Tristan, he will still say like Tristan, yada yada, whatever. And I don't like that. It's just really confusing me. But I'm not a big fan of third person anyway. Like, I'll read it, I don't hate it, but I just don't like that. I just prefer to read in first person personally. I don't know how much further I'm going to get into this. Obviously I'm hoping to finish it. I'm hoping to finish it and not keep putting it down too much, because if I do, it's going to be one of them that I just won't pick back up because I'm just so bored at that point. I can just feel it. So I'm just going to continue listening to audiobook, continue diamond painting because I'm really behind in the diamond painting, like Christmas gifts and stuff. So I'm just going to do 2-in-1 type thing, get these books read and get these diamond paintings done, so I am still being productive. I had high hopes for this, although to be fair I did hear controversial things about it, hence why it took me so long to pick it up. We'll see. Is this going to be the first book I DNF in a while? We'll see. We'll see. So obviously it is a few hours later and I have now finally finished Atlas 6. I was just diamond painting while listening to the audiobook, and honestly I was struggling to finish this because I was just so bored the whole time. I just did not enjoy it at all. I don't know what it was. I felt like the pacing was so slow. I just didn't really care about the characters, and I felt disconnected because I kept getting confused of like whose point of view I was in. But I don't know if that's just because obviously I was listening to the audiobook, but I was so close to DNFing it. Now the only reason why I didn't was because I realized I own the second book to this, so I was like, I kind of have to finish this. I'm going to be for real. Am I going to read the second book? Yes, only because I have it, but will I finish it? I don't know. I'm going to go into it expecting to DNF it, but we'll see. I'm going to give it a chance. But yeah, I was just bored throughout all of this, and honestly I can probably tell you that by the time it comes to like my wrap up, I am going to end up forgetting about majority of this book. I will always remember what's on the back type thing, so it's not going to be a memorable one, but I am glad that it's now off my physical TBR, and now that I can just move on and kind of forget about it, because it was on my TBR for a very long time, and it was one of those that was just kind of like in the back of my mind that I had to read because it had been on there for so long. So I'm glad that I have finally read it. It was just a little bit of a disappointing read for me. Oh, another thing was the writing. I don't know what it was, but there was just kind of, the writing style wasn't for me. Not just the fact that it was in third person, the way it was written. I don't know how to explain it. I don't read lots of literature. I'm not like a writing expert, but it just weren't for me. I don't want to sound too horrible. I don't know what book I'm going to be starting next, but as soon as I know, I will let you know. So I finished The Cousins, and I didn't do any updates while reading this, as I thought it'd be easier to just do updates. I did write notes while reading this. I'm so glad that I finally got this off my TBR, because this has been so many monthly TBRs throughout the year that I'm just so glad that now I have finally read it and it's off, and it feels great that I have read it. I did rate this one 3 stars, and it felt like it took a while to get into the actual story, so I did start to get bored in the beginning. Like, it felt like it was dragging on a little bit, and it was just pretty much saying the same thing over and over again, and it took so long to actually get to the point. Like, it was talking about like to the grandmothers and everything, but it took so long for them to actually go, and I felt myself getting confused with the characters. But I think that might just be because I was listening to the audiobook while diamond painting. That might have been a big reason for why, because obviously there are 4 different characters within this book, and so I just found it a little bit difficult to like keep track. There's also parts where you go from like past to present, and I was getting a bit confused with that, and so I feel like that might be a big reason for why I was really struggling, was the audiobook. Now if I read this physically, obviously it tells me when it switches POV. It does tell me in the audiobook, but obviously it's a bit harder to keep track, so I don't think that's the book's problem. I think that is just a me problem, and that's completely understandable when I am listening to an audiobook. But I did find that it was like taking me out of the story sometimes, because I was thinking, who am I reading from? I did figure it out quite quickly, but it just takes you out of the story if you're thinking, oh, whose POV is it type thing. But The Cousins follows 3 teenagers whose parents were cut off by their mother over 20 years ago after receiving a letter that just says you know what you've done, although apparently none of them actually do know what they've done. Cut to present day, and the cousins are all invited to stay at their estranged grandmother's island resort over the summer, as she's apparently had a change of heart and would like to get to know them. Upon arrival, the cousins try to uncover what exactly their parents did to get them cut off, and why their grandmother wants to meet them after all this time. The twists and turns were quite predictable, and this whole book felt young, which isn't shocking as it is YA, but what I mean is I prefer adult mysteries, as they are always more thrilling, and that is what I prefer personally. So I find in adult mysteries you do get more of like a thrill, and I feel like more happens, whereas obviously in YA they have to be a bit more tame, and I don't know, I like to be a little bit thrilled, or a little bit like what's gonna happen, but I just didn't feel any of this within this book. But that is okay, because like I said, 3 stars. I still liked it. It was average. I think also the writing style within this, but I think this author's writing style isn't for me personally. It doesn't flow with me, and that's okay. But I am going to still pick up One of Us Is Next, which is the second book from One of Us Is Lying. It's the only other book I have from this author, but whether I'll continue or not, I don't know, because it's just not like a favourite of mine. I don't hate them, but they just don't seem to be favourites. So I finished Permanent Record, and I rated it 2 stars. I did end up finishing this in one sitting, so it is a nice, quick, easy read. We follow Pablo, a deeply indebted dropout turned employee who seemed developed to a crush at first sight on teen pop sensation Leanna Smart. I wrote notes if you are wondering, and I put, this was so relatable. Pablo was an amazing character, yet there were times where I found him so frustrating, and the story is really about him trying to find his footing in life. I didn't care much for the characters and their romance. I feel like I might have felt so disconnected from the story because I was listening to the audiobook. So yeah, again, I was listening to the audiobook. I don't know, I don't know what it was. I feel like maybe I would have felt a bit more connected if I weren't listening to the audiobook, but then again, I did go into this story kind of feeling like it weren't gonna be my type of story, but it was still it was still okay. I really liked the storyline and the plot of the story. Again, this is one that was on my TBR for a while. Like, it has been one that I've been wanting to get off for a very long time, so I'm glad that I've finally done that, as that is one less book off my TBR, but also one less book that I've off my TBR that has been there for a while. So I finished reading Alone with You in the Ether, and honestly I'm going to rate this one 3 stars. It was okay. It wasn't like a favourite of mine. I honestly thought I was going to enjoy it a lot more than what I thought, just based off other people's reviews, people that have similar taste in books to me and all that stuff. So I did think I was going to like it a little bit more, but I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the wrong time of me reading it, and I just, obviously because I'm reading it for this video, it weren't the right time. I did write some notes while reading it so that I didn't forget anything that I'm reading so many different books, my brain is scatterbrain. I found it very hard to keep up with the plot of the story. Now, I don't know if that was the writing, because I did also find like the writing style a little bit difficult, but I don't know if that was just, I don't know if they like interlinked or not. I weren't sure if it was the writing that was making it difficult, or maybe just the plot of the story itself. I was also listening to the audiobook, so that probably played a little bit of a part within being a little bit confused with the storyline of it. In this, well, I knew what it was about, but I'll just get like really confused at times with timing and what's happening and all that type of stuff. I did find it really interesting to read in the beginning. I actually was really invested within the story. I understood what was happening. I was intrigued, but then the farther that we got into it, the more that I was like, again, becoming a little bit more bored, losing the plot a little, not literally, losing the storyline basically. I did love the mental health rep within this book. I felt like it was done quite well, and I would definitely say it's a very important book to read, and if you are looking for a mental health rep book, then I would actually recommend this one. But the only thing that really put me off, and the thing that I just did not like, and I felt like it was kind of, I get the awareness of it, I just don't like the mention of it. I don't know how to explain my feelings about it, but where Reagan, our main character, where it's talked about where she has come off of their meds without a doctor say so, without medical advice, and I just didn't feel like I said, I understand why it was put in there, and I understand it's part of the story, and it is an important thing to talk about, because unfortunately people do go off medication without doctors say so, but I don't know what it was. I just feel like I just didn't like that mention. I think it's because, I don't want to say it, but I feel like it was kind of promoting that you can do that, when in reality it's just, best not to, you shouldn't type thing. I don't know. I don't feel like I am explaining it properly, and I don't want to say anything bad or wrong or anything that will like upset people, but it's my opinion, that is my thoughts. I'm not able to express them correctly. I don't think I actually explained what this book is about. I must say this book isn't a memorable one, because I actually finished it a few days ago. I just forgot to update, and I don't really remember details about it, so it's not actually a memorable one, to be honest. But again, I don't know if that's just because I read it at the wrong time thing, but it says 2 people meet in the art institute by chance. Prior to their encounter, he is a doctoral student who manages his destructive thoughts with compulsive calculations about time travel. She is a bipolar counterfeit artist undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. By the end of the story, these things will still be true, but this is not a story about endings. For Reagan, people are predictable and tedious, including perhaps especially herself. She copes with the dreariness of existence by living impulsively, imagining a new alternate timeline being created in the wake of every rash decision. To Aldo, I think that's how you say it, the world feels disturbingly chaotic. He gets through his days by retracting a wall of routine, a backbeat of rules and formulas that keep him going. Without them, the entire framework of his existence would collapse. For Reagan and Aldo, life has been a matter of resigning themselves to the blueprint of inevitability until the two meet. Could 6 conversations with a stranger be variable that shakes up the entire simulation? Like I said, the mental health in this is, as far as I know, I'm not a professional, I just want to point that out there. As far as I know, I feel like it was done really well, explained well. Olivia Blake did their research, and I can appreciate, because there are some authors that don't feel like you can tell that they did their research with all of this. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there with that book, but I would recommend it still. I would definitely recommend it. I just feel like maybe I read it at the wrong time, which I am a strong believer of. Time, wrong place? No, what's the same? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. So I finished reading Once More with Feelings. I did decide to rate this one 3 stars. I can't remember what I rated the first book within the series. I think maybe 4 stars. It was definitely more of a favourite. I did read this one quite quickly, so it was good enough for that. But this is a second chance enemies to lovers romance that follows Catherine and Cal's relationship from back in the day to now. Both meet at a summer camp where they were younger, meet a second time when Kathleen becomes a pop singer and Cal is in a band, and meet again for the 3rd time when Cal is a director for a musical that Kathleen's best friend wrote and Kathleen is in. Kathleen's career took a tumble when she found herself stuck in a love triangle that ended with no one being together. They are forced to be professional with each other, and somewhere along the way they question their feelings for each other. The thing that I didn't like about this book was obviously the love triangle. Now, it's not the usual triangle of, like, at least I didn't feel like it was the usual love triangle. Like, it didn't feel like it, so it didn't bother me too much in a sense. But I just, anything where there's another guy involved, it's just like, no, I don't like that at all. Love triangle wise, where it's like, oh, I don't know who to choose type thing, and it's always obvious. I'm just like, I don't like it. I just don't like that trope or anything that correlates with that trope. I didn't know that it was going to be a love triangle or anything to do with a love triangle within this book, so it did kind of throw me off a little bit. I didn't like the female main character and some of the choices that she made throughout this book. I don't know what it was, but sometimes I'm just like, you are making the bad decisions, and it's really throwing me off in the book. I don't know, I just feel like sometimes she did make some bad decisions. I suppose sometimes they were fine, but maybe not in the best way. In Dual Timelines and Second Chance, I expect to get an understanding for the characters and why why the characters should be together and have a second chance, but I didn't feel like in the past parts of this book it really explained it to me or anything. So I did find it really hard to, like, root for the characters, want them to get back together, because I'm like, why do they need a second chance? Like, how much did they love each other beforehand? I just didn't feel like it was portrayed too well within the past parts of, because you do get past present timelines, you know. So I did find it a little bit hard to be like, these two need to get back together, like they belong to each other, because I just didn't feel like it didn't portray that within past parts of the book. To be 100% real, I wasn't too bothered whether they ended up together or not. Like, I wasn't rooting for the characters, and obviously in a romance book that is what you want. You want to be rooting for the characters, you want them to end up together, you want, you know, you want to love them, you want to love the characters, you want them to have a happy ever after. But to be honest, I just didn't really care if they did or not, but obviously, you know. But overall, it was a quick, heartfelt read, and I would still recommend it if you love the second chance trope, because I do feel like it did the second chance trope well. It's just personally not a favourite for me, and that is completely okay. But 3 stars isn't a bad rating. I just want to preface that. 3 stars is like average, you know. I would still recommend it. It wasn't a bad book. Yeah, I liked it. So that's the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave this emoji if you watched until the end, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.